Hola and welcome back to Learning with Estrella. I'm Estrella, your go-to Spanish teacher for fun, easy and simple lessons. This is a safe space to build confidence and learn real Spanish step by step. Let's begin. If you know Spanish words but don't know how to put them together to form a sentence, this episode is for you. Today I will show you how Spanish sentences work in a very simple and stress-free way. Part 1. The basic structure of Spanish sentences. Let's begin with the good news. The Spanish sentence structure is actually very similar to English. In most cases, Spanish sentences follow this structure. We've got subject plus verb plus object. For example, yo como pizza. I eat pizza. Ella bebe café. She drinks coffee. Nosotros estudiamos español. We study Spanish. So if you already speak English, this structure will feel very familiar. Let's try some more examples. Yo estudio español. I study Spanish. Él compra pan. He buys bread. Ella lee un libro. She reads a book. So please remember that Spanish sentences are not as complicated as they might seem. Part 2. The secret. The subject is often optional. Now, here's something very interesting about Spanish. In Spanish, we often remove the subject. That means we don't always say yo, tú, nosotros, etc. Why? Because if you look closer to each verb, it's different and unique depending on the person we're speaking about. In other words, the verb ending already tells us who is doing the action. For example, yo como pizza is the same as saying como pizza. I eat pizza. I could never say tú como pizza. I eat pizza. No, makes no sense. So como could only be used for I eat. More examples. Estudio español. The same as saying yo estudio español. I study Spanish. Vivimos en España. Same thing as saying nosotros vivimos en España. The verb ending already gives us the information we need. Okay, let's look at the verb comer, to eat. Comer. Yo como, I eat. Tú comes, you eat. Él come, he eats. Because each ending is different, Spanish speakers often just drop the subject completely. So instead of saying yo como pizza, most native Spanish speakers will simply say como pizza. This is actually one of the things that makes Spanish sounds more natural and fluid. Something I want to point out here is that you will probably ask, well, then when would you use yo or ella or nosotros, the subject? Well, we would use the subject when we want to emphasize someone. For example, we could be having a conversation and we could be saying, oh, well, I don't really study, I just work, something like that. Or Maria also doesn't study, following the conversation. Well, yo como pizza. I eat pizza. Same thing in English, like you would just emphasize the sound of I, she, Maria, ella, etc. So this works the same. If not, we could just say estudio español. I study Spanish. No emphasis in there. So most Spanish natives will simply add the subject when we want to emphasize something. Sometimes with scenarios like he or she, that could mean, for example, come, él come, ella come. With examples like that, if it's not too clear who you're talking about, then please use the subject. It's all about emphasis. Okay, part 3. Adjectives usually come after the noun. Okay, now let's talk about another key difference between English and Spanish. In English, adjectives usually come before the noun. For example, a big house, a red car, a small dog. But in Spanish, adjectives usually come after the noun. For example, instead of saying a big house, we simply say una casa grande, a house big, literally translated. So let's look at some more examples. A big house, una casa grande. A red car, un coche rojo. Small dog, un perro pequeño. This is something many beginners forget about, but once you get used to it, it becomes very natural. Okay, let's do a quick challenge together. Try to translate these sentences into Spanish. Pause the video podcast if you want a moment to think about it. Number one, I live in Spain. Número 2, I drink coffee. Número 3, I study Spanish. Número 4, I have a dog. Ready? ¿Listo? ¿Lista? Here are the answers. I live in Spain would translate to vivo en España. Número 2, I drink coffee would translate to bebo café. Número 3, I study Spanish would translate to estudio español. Y número 4, I have a dog would translate to tengo un perro. Remember, you don't need to say yo because the verb ending already tells us that it's yo who's speaking. Before we continue, I would like to share something many of my students have been using recently. If you are a beginner learning Spanish and want clear explanations, structured exercises, and a guided practice, this workbook is designed to help you build a strong foundation in Spanish with simple grammar explanations, practical vocabulary, and exercises that actually help you start forming sentences. It's perfect if you've been learning on your own, or if you want an extra practice alongside your Spanish classes. If you're interested in getting yourself the Ultimate Spanish Beginner Workbook, you can find yours today on my website, learningwithestrella.com, and I will also leave it in the description box below, so you can definitely check it out after the episode. Okay, part 4. Simple sentences you can start using today. Now, let's finish off strong with some sentences beginners can start using immediately today. Repeat them out loud if you can. Vivo en España. I live in Spain. Trabajo en una oficina. I work in an office. Estudio español. I study Spanish. Me gusta el café. I like coffee. Tengo 2 hermanos. I have 2 brothers. These are simple sentences, but they are the building blocks of conversation. The more sentences like this you learn, the easier it becomes to start speaking. Okay, my final tip. If you want to improve your Spanish faster, try this simple exercise. Every day, I want you to write 5 sentences about your life. For example, I work today. I drink coffee. I study Spanish. I live in London. I have a dog. Then translate them into Spanish. This is a powerful way to train your brain to think in Spanish instead of translating every word. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias for listening to this episode. I hope it helped you understand how Spanish sentences work and gave you a little more confidence to start speaking. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. Like and share to friends who might also enjoy it. And if you want more Spanish resources, exercise and beginner support, don't forget to check out the Ultimate Spanish Beginner Workbook on my website, learningwithistrella.com. Hasta pronto. I'll see you in the next episode.